All right, all right. Here we are. We are here with you guys. Welcome, welcome to the Action Lab. We are here on a Sunday evening. Hope you guys had a fantastic weekend and a great end to the week. We have Monday tomorrow, so hey, we're trying to get us over the hump on the last part of the weekend. Hopefully, you're closing out the weekend with us. My name is Chris. This is Scott. We are your hosts for the Action Lab. Had a great weekend so far. I got to see Scott in person over the course of the weekend, so we got together for a little bit, did some, had a little brunch, and had a great time. And now we're here on the lab.
Yeah, I haven't seen you since earlier today, so
I know it's been a
good
while.
to see you. Did you do something different with your beard or something? It looks different.
No, I didn't do anything. I haven't shaved it off yet. Maybe that's going to be one of our bets coming up. Maybe we just do like a bet where I have to shave off the beard and see how many people it would take for me to actually do that, and what kind of bet it would take for me to do that.
100% we're doing that bet. I don't even care what the bet is. We're doing that bet. Never seen you without any facial hair, so we're doing it.
I've never seen me without any facial hair. Just kidding. It's been a long time. Probably since, I don't know, maybe high school range. I don't know. Maybe early college. But
I thought maybe straight out of the womb, just beard.
Yeah, no. Beard. I mean, I thought that's what would happen.
Not to go off on a tangent. Yeah, not to go off on a tangent about coming out of the womb, but today is a big day. I don't know if you heard, but today was a big day for someone entering our world. Patrick Mahomes had his daughter today, Sterling Sky Mahomes. It took me all of like 2 minutes, or whatever it was, to mention Mahomes, and we're in the off season, but he had his baby girl today, or maybe yesterday. He announced it today. I'm not sure the official birthday, but listen, hey, you know what? The Denver Broncos are going to make a wonderful big brother. They're going to be a great big brother to Sterling.
Let me
Because
get.
we all know who the Broncos' daddy is.
Let me guess. Did you send a card over his way? Congratulations. Did you DM and make sure that he heard from you?
Listen, I got to slow play it because, I'm wanting my son who just got, obviously born within the last month. Maybe a little love connection just at one point in life so that me and Patrick can just live out life together.
You would only be so lucky. You would only be so lucky
That'd be
for,
incredible.
for that to actually happen. If that ever happened, maybe that brings me a little bit closer to liking the Chiefs a little bit more. I don't hate the Chiefs. I don't necessarily love the Chiefs, but I mean, I guess if they're part of the family at that point, then I guess I don't have really a choice but to be a Mahomes fan. I guess.
I mean, I wouldn't have time for like these other family trips. I'd just be hanging out with Mahomes all the time. But it's all good. No offense.
Well, thank you guys for all joining us here. With all of that being said, we are on multi-stream again. This is something we're going to be doing for a while now, if not forever. We really like what we're doing with being live on Facebook and Twitch and YouTube. So we're on all three. We have different, so you can search us on YouTube. I need to start putting now that we're building out our YouTube channel, I got to start putting those on here as well, since I took them down because we weren't really doing too much. But we're going to have we're creating some video content that hopefully will be really exciting for you guys. Just some not even really associated with the actual like live stream of the recordings of what we do on a weekly basis, but we're putting together some different fun ideas to create some side videos that we'll upload to the channel for YouTube. So that's going to be in the works. I don't want to give too much away, but that's going to be coming up here hopefully soon. We still have some things to work out, but it's super, super exciting there. Now, if you're here, if you're watching on Facebook or any of our other channels, you'll notice that in the description, I believe there should be some sort of link that goes to where we're going to be streaming from now on. For this week and next week, we're going to try to get people to jump onto our Facebook stream from our channel Facebook page, not my own personal Facebook page. That's what we're doing, just to get people aware that that's going to be where we're going to be moving to. So that way we don't miss anybody. So if you're here on Facebook or if you're here on these other channels and you're not following on Facebook and you would rather watch on Facebook, go ahead, hit the link in the description or on our description stream of the description, and then it'll take you to our Facebook page where you can like, and then you'll get all those notifications from there. So just get a couple of those housekeeping pieces out of the way. Scotty, have you heard anybody that's been joining in on Facebook recently? I only have a handful of people.
Since it's going through yours, maybe we should switch it up and next week do it through mine and see how many people we can gather through that.
I think so.
I have upwards of like 4 to 5 friends on Facebook, so it should be pretty cool. I'm pretty active on it.
I have a couple. I have a couple as well. So sounds like we're just really popular people when it comes to the Facebook world, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No. People just hop on all the time to see what things I'm posting on Facebook at all times.
Stephanie Kell in the chat for Facebook, watching in Kodiak. Hey, how's the weather up there? I don't even know. It's been a while since I have actually I've never been to Kodiak or anywhere in Alaska, so I don't know what that's all about. But yeah, how is it up there? Have you ever been to Alaska, Scotty?
I've never been to Alaska. I can't imagine. I mean, it snowed here in the last 24 hours, so it's probably pretty similar, right?
I don't know. Steph, how about you? You let us know here. Let's see. Here we go. Chilly, snow on the ground. So pretty much the same as here, except we get a lot of sunshine here. I mean, I don't know. Right now, it's like winter forever in Alaska, isn't it? I think it's like winter for like 18 or your 24 hours or something. beautiful. It's been here. It's been 5 years that you've been there. Yeah, I think I remember when you posted you were moving there. It was kind of crazy. I know Stephanie in our Facebook chat from elementary school, middle school. We go way back, but she's definitely been jumping in and joining the stream and having a good time with us. So thanks, Steph, for supporting us, and hope you're enjoying Alaska. I need to go up there. I need to maybe do some fishing up there, Scotty. Fishing trip, do some, what is it, all the salmon and everything else that they got going on up there?
Or they do a lot of Alaskan cruises, so hit it up for there sometime.
Yeah. So
I'm ready.
Let's do it. Let's
I'm
go.
ready for vacation all the time.
I got to watch out for those grizzly bears though. Steph, thanks. Thankfully we get more sun than most. So it's definitely dark, but it's definitely dark. Yeah. I believe you. But anyways, so real quick, now that we're kind of getting in, we have some people, slowly trickling in for the stream here. Wanted to touch on one. We have some breaking news here, on the Action Lab. So every Friday we have our optimal prime picks of the week, Scott. You weren't here on this past Friday afternoon, but we had 7. So on this, we had 7 picks. We threw them in a parlay, and we've had our best week ever on our optimal prime parlay of the week. We got 5 of 7. We've only missed 2 last week, and one of them we just lost by 1. So that Chicago and Philly, we picked Philadelphia -8. They had to win by 8 or more. They only won by 7. So they ended up barely. I don't know how Vegas knows exactly where these lines need to. I mean, they're obviously Vegas. They don't lose, right? But it was fascinating to see, how well we did. This is the best we've ever done. 5-2 overall record on our optimal prime picks of the week over 3 weeks is 17-11, which is honestly, I never thought we would be doing that well when it comes to picking these 17 parlays. Now we just got to get to 6, maybe 7 on the next couple weeks, and then we're making the big time bucks, Scott.
You said 3 weeks, but based off that math, that checks out as 4 for me. So that's 4 straight winning weeks. 4 straight winning.
Oh yeah, 4. You're right. You're right.
Optimal prime parlay, 4 for 4 on winning weeks with 28 total picks.
Yes.
Yep. I would have advised you to never go against the Dayton Flyers. They're my team.
You should have been on. You should have joined in on the chat.
That's my fault. You did a great job. Otherwise, they were 5-point dogs, and I think won by 23, so it's not a big deal.
Oh man, it was not even close.
Way to kill it. Way to kill it.
Yeah, honestly, we've been doing really, really well on all of our. Maybe I should just do NHL picks from here on out. Hockey picks have been seeming to do really, really well for me. And then this was the best we've done on the NBA as well. So usually, we hit like maybe 2 out of 4 on the NBA, and that's kind of where we fall short. But this week did pretty well. I definitely like that anytime the LA Clippers are getting points as one of the top 3 teams in the league, you got to take those, right? And they ended up putting away Utah outright, just no issues. As far as the Boston, they crushed Atlanta. Memphis beat Detroit. And then as far as the only other one that really just was not even close was that St. Louis Dayton game. So next time, Scotty, I need you here to help me out. But overall record 17-11. Maybe I should just do handicapping from here on out.
When we're not picking NFL, apparently it works a lot better for us.
So
I swear I've had some good streaks in the NFL.
So it's been doing really, really well for us. We're really excited that's been, getting better and better as the weeks go on. So catch us. We're still doing those on Fridays. So if you guys want to help out, those Friday afternoons, we try to get you through your Friday, try to get you, lunchtime stream. So that way, you're hitting your happy hour earlier. You're helping me with some picks, and then we have some fun with it, and then we recap what we did on our Sunday show. So, so that's how we did. We'll see you guys if you want to help me out with this in the future. come in on Fridays and get us some help so that we can get to that 6-1 and 7-0 possibly. So it's a really fun segment if you haven't been there on a Friday. So look forward to it. But we wanted to do something a little bit different, and this is something we're going to try to do a little bit more moving forward. We have a lot of friends and family and everybody who watches this stream from Colorado. So if you don't know, if you're here and you're new to the channel, we do a lot. You'll notice that we're in Nuggets gear because I'm a big Nuggets fan. All the home Colorado teams. We live in like southern South Denver area, both Scott and myself, and so we have a lot of knowledge and we have a lot of have as much love for the Broncos, but us being here, we wanted to bring you a little bit more of the local scene. Now, each week we're going to start doing on Sundays. Now that football's kind of wrapped up, we're going to be doing a little Mile High Spotlight, and that's going to be going into all of our local teams here and kind of giving you an idea of, one, how we did over the course of the week, whether, we were doing really well when it comes to, winning some good games and making some good pushes when it comes to bolstering the records for playoffs, things of that nature. But then also just any kind of sports news that are going on with any of these teams. We had some Colorado Rockies news today. We'll touch on that here in a second. But also the biggest ones that are going on here are the Nuggets and the Avalanche, because we're in the middle of the seasons for each of those. And we just, given who watches this channel, we wanted to give a little bit more love to our local teams. We do a lot of national news and a lot of national highlights, but definitely we want to get a lot of your opinions. And we know you guys have a lot of opinions when it comes to all of the teams locally. So this is your chance to get out there and let us know, your thoughts when it comes to all these. I know we have a bunch of viewers right now on Facebook and Twitch. So if you guys are here and you're big fans of the local teams, or if you just have some opinions or takes on anything that's going on in the local Colorado, sports world, hey, throw it in there. Let's talk about it. But Scotty, we have a lot to cover here. Nuggets are actually playing or just finished playing a disappointing game here tonight. So Nuggets ended up falling to the Atlanta Hawks just a few minutes ago, 123-115. Wasn't exactly a great game for most of the boys. Jamal Murray is one of the highlights of this game. 30 points and shooting a little over 50% from the field. But he was one of the lone highlights, which is kind of strange knowing that Nikola Jokic is usually the guy that's getting all of the stats and padding, all of his moments here. So, actually, sorry, 1 second. There was sorry about the little glitch. So, Scotty, when it comes to the Nuggets, let's go ahead and start with them first. How did they do this week? And then also, we have the schedule here coming up for the next 4 games through next Saturday. What do you expect to see in the next few games?
They've been out east, and every year when they go out east for a long road trip, they seem to struggle quite a bit. And they have on this road trip. Started in Boston, tough game against Boston, lost. Then lost a game at Washington that you just can't lose to the Washington Wizards when you're the Nuggets. And then the game I really want to talk about is the win. A couple nights ago, Friday night against Cleveland. And really, I want to talk about Jamal Murray in that game. Jamal Murray, if you haven't heard, went for 50 points, new career high, regular season career high, because he last year against the Utah Jazz in the playoffs went for 50 a couple games actually in that series. But new career high in regular season, 50 points on 25 shots. He was 21 of 25 from the field.
Unbelievable.
I believe 8 of 10 from 3. And he's the first player in NBA history to score 50 points without a single free throw attempt. He did not attempt a single free throw in the game, which is just wild when you're shooting 25 times and you score 50 points and not have a free throw attempt in the game. But sure enough, he didn't. First player to ever do it. And he's also tied, I believe, Wilt Chamberlain for the highest field goal percentage in a 50-point game in NBA history, at like 84%. And no offense to Wilt Chamberlain, but I think Jamal Murray was probably shooting from a little further out than Wilt was in that game where he put up 50, I assume, where he was probably just dunking the ball left and right against guys a foot shorter than him at the time. But so Jamal Murray, the good news is, while they've lost 3 or 4 after this Atlanta loss tonight, in the past week, uh, Jamal Murray looks like he's waking up a little bit, and he's going to get going. The problem tonight was, one, defense. They gave up 123, and two, like you said, Joker was 5 of 15. Like, I don't know, shooting wise, like if he's had that poor of game all season. So that's a bit of an anomaly. He's like a top 3 MVP candidate. I'm not worried about him, but if they can get him going and Jamal going, and for the love, if Michael Porter can somehow come on and be consistent. The other night he had 21 points in the first half and 1 point in the second half. So that's like the epitome of Michael Porter Jr. right now. Like, unfortunately, but they just don't. They don't have got, without Jamal and Joker playing great. They struggle to win, unfortunately, and their depth isn't what they used to have off the bench the last few years when they had Beasley coming off the bench. Will Barton really hasn't played that great. Gary Harris is not as good as he was a couple years ago. So they're kind of light on, elite talent, and they need their guys that have that elite talent, which are those 3, to really carry them if they want to. Because right now they're just kind of hovering around, I think, like 16 and 14, bottom, last spot in the West, or around the last spot in the West right now, and they're a better team than that. So I'm not worried. I think they're going to make the playoffs. And about making the playoffs, it's just about getting hot at the right time. And they've shown, obviously, last year with the Western Conference Finals that they can get hot. And they can compete with anybody. But just been a rocky road so far. And hopefully Jamal just continues on this path. And with Jamal and Joker, when Jamal's playing like Bubble Jamal, and Joker's playing like he has this season, I don't know if there's a better. I'd put them up with any 1-2 punch in the entire NBA. So there's that. I have confidence in them. They'll be fine, but they're just kind of just dragging their feet right now. Hopefully getting back home here soon will help. But kind of an ugly road trip after they beat LA exactly a week ago, the Lakers, in a nice win. So
yep,
couldn't carry momentum from that. But
yep. In the Facebook chat. By the way, we're gonna get Facebook chat figured out here. Working with all of some of the background stuff on that, so it's gonna be eventually streaming on this interface here too. Stephanie asking, what's the word on Watson coming to Denver? Well, we can cover that here once. I have some thoughts on that. So we're gonna cover that here in a minute. So hold tight. We're gonna get to the Broncos talk here in a minute here. Deborah Cola, that's Mama. Mama is watching. Nuggets got handed to them tonight. Yeah. My mom, she's at home listening to those games on the radio, so she gets all of those updates. But yeah, no, I think the thing that kind of concerns, there's two in one instance. So up until this point, Murray hasn't exactly been that consistent player that's going to be putting up a ton of points and being he's been like up and down over the course of the season, not consistent whatsoever. Well, now he's been consistent and he's taking more shots. So he took 20 shots today, 11 for 20. So he made more than half of those. But I want to say that's a great thing for the Nuggets. The fact that he's getting into a rhythm back-to-back games. I expected this because I think Coach Malone actually mentioned something in this past week where he was saying that he wanted Jamal to take more shots and be more aggressive, and he called him out and just sat him down and said, "Hey, I need you guys to be more. I need you to be more, of a offensive-minded player and just take those selfish shots." And Jamal Murray's starting to do that, which is great. Now, up until this point, Jokic, the thing that I'm not on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being worried, 1 being, I'm not worried at all. I think it's a 3. So this, don't put a lot of stock into this, but Jamal Murray is taking away those shots that Jokic was taking early on, and like just MVP style caliber player. And Jokic, with he's got his hands on the ball. He's doing a lot of things that can really help this team, and he facilitates, so he doesn't need to score a ton. But when he was scoring over the course of the last month and a half, that was because Murray wasn't taking as many shots and being as aggressive. So does Murray taking the ball out of Jokic's hands when it comes to the offensive firepower shooting the ball, is that going to affect anything? And again, this is a 3. I'm not worried about this because I think we both need both of those guys to score. And I think Jokic does really, really well when he's facilitating. So I think that's the best part about that is if Jokic can get – I just think they need other guys to come with them. They're running just 2 guys down the street and no one's joining them when it comes to being able – Porter Jr. hasn't. Will Barton is kind of, streaky. Najee started. I think Coach Malone is starting Najee because he likes what he can potentially bring as far as some rebounding, some aggressive, some energy. So I don't know. I think this is going to be interesting to see if Murray continues to keep pushing the ball and taking those shots, which we want him to do, how that's going to affect Joker and how aggressive he can be when it comes to shooting the ball, because we still want Joker to shoot the ball too. So just an observation from me. I think there's going to be some things that I think, again, Porter Jr. is going to need to be a big part of that as well. So Scotty, what do you think?
Yeah, and what I didn't touch on is our defense. It's just we don't have a lot of the Nuggets don't have a lot of plus defenders on that end right now. I think points per possession. So that's a stat in the NBA. How many points you score per possession. Offensively, I think we're 5th in the NBA in efficiency on that. And defensively, we're 19th. So we're struggling way more on the defensive end than we are on the offensive end. And ironically, our best defensive player based off analytics, and I don't know if I see this all the time when I'm watching the games, has actually been Joker. And middling to less than middling as far as a defensive player. I think defense a lot of times can be about effort, though. And hopefully, as we get further along this season, the games get more important. They can start to, lay down the law on defense a little bit and not just go through the motions a little bit. So I think they can do it. They're never going to be an elite defensive team. Like, they're not going to be a top 5 defensive team with the roster they have. They just don't have the players that have the strength on defense. So, but they can be better than 19th, and they need to be better than 19th moving forward.
Yeah, and this is the last game of a 4-game road trip. So they starting on Tuesday, they lost in Boston, they lost in Washington, and then Cleveland. They had that big breakout game where they just outperformed. So end of a road trip. You expect these kind of games to happen towards the end of a road trip where they kind of just are, ready to come home, ready to, start a little 2-game homestand here. So looking forward here, you have Portland on the 23rd. So this is Tuesday. That's a TNT game, by the way. So it's 8 p.m. Mountain Time. That's going to be a fun one. Anytime you got, Portland coming into town, that's one of those kind of rivalries for the Nuggets recent years where, Damian Lillard, we've had some, kind of playoff battles and over the course of the years, and then even just some of those games where they play in playoff games or whatever. Those games are always a lot of fun. Lillard is insane to watch, so that's going to be a fun matchup. CJ McCollum, I think they still battle some injuries, but they're still really, really solid. Melo coming back to town, old school Melo, right? There's not as many fans here to boo him.
That used to be a storyline, and now it's not so much.
Exactly. And so then wrapping up the rest of the week, Thursday, you got Washington coming to town, and then next Saturday we got Oklahoma City at OKC, which that's going to be another fun game too. Oklahoma City is one of those teams no one expects them to really be good, but they have put together a nice young roster where you don't really know a lot of the guys on their roster. It's kind of just like just random role playing guys, but they play and they compete hard. So, I mean, that's actually a pretty scary game on this one as well. So, I think as far as this goes, if I'm seeing how they're going to perform throughout the course of this week, I would expect for them to at least win. At least 2 out of 3 of these. I don't know, Portland TNT games. I want to say they have a good shot at that, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes the Nuggets just fall short on TNT games. I'll be watching. I'm excited to finally get on a nationally televised game and we lay eggs. So hopefully we come out strong on that Portland game and we can get a solid win. If so, we could go 3-0 this week potentially. I like our chances. So yeah. So that's the yeah. Go ahead.
This should be a 3-0 week. Like, granted, yeah, Portland's playing really well. They're 8-2 in their last 10. Damian Lillard's playing out of his mind. I hope we get to see Damian Lillard, Jamal Murray shooting competition that just is similar to what we saw last year in the playoffs when we played Utah with Donovan Mitchell and Jamal going back and forth. That'd be a lot of fun to watch on TNT. That's the game. Washington somehow has won 4 straight. So they've been terrible, but they've won 4 straight. And the Thunder have actually they're 3-7 in their last 10. So they've finally figured out that they're not that good. And not a lot of talent on the roster. They played hard at the start. And they've dropped off a little. So anything worse than 2 would be a complete failure of the week for them. But really, they need to win all 3 of these. Get ahead of this 500, hovering around 500 nonsense that they're doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have strong hopes. I was hoping they would compete a little bit more tonight, but again, fall a little short tonight to the Atlanta Hawks, but they are coming home for a 2-game stand. So Tuesday will be fun. Excited to catch those guys on national television. If you haven't checked the schedule, make sure you're watching, because if you're a Nuggets fan, that's going to be a really, really fun game. But yes, as far as they go, I really hope they can start getting some big wins. I think, again, it's really nice to see Jamal Murray starting to turn up and starting to be the Jamal Murray we saw at the end of the season last year, because we need him to be as good as he was last year for us to even have a chance. Right now, I don't even think we're currently Western Conference Finals caliber team at this point. We have a long way to go. A lot of our guys are underperforming across the board. Michael Porter Jr. has got to really take that next step. I don't know if he's not consistent and he's not able to even just play a little bit of defense. I think that's why we're starting to play Najee in there and try to get him some time and some experience playing with the regular season lineups. That's the other thing that's kind of a little bit interesting, is that I don't always have the patience for Michael Malone's lineups. Michael Malone, as the coach of the Nuggets, he just is always experimenting and always playing around with starting lineups. Who's going to be the best in the rotations, putting in rookies sometimes for longer periods of time than they need to, just to kind of see what they got. And sometimes it works. I mean, RJ Hampton has had some flashes in short periods of time. Najee has as well. Those are our 2 rookies that came in from the draft this past season, or the past offseason, I should say. So they've been playing pretty well. But yeah, it's just kind of when you want to win these regular season games, it's hard to like sit through some of those when they're not playing well. It's like, it's tough.
Well, I think Najee started. I think Millsap and JaMychal Green they didn't play this game. They're both out with injuries. So his hand was a little forced by putting Najee out there, but he was 3 of 5. He didn't do a ton. He played 30 minutes. It was kind of just a body out there, but didn't have a ton of rebounds or anything like that. But I don't mind him playing guys and getting minutes, especially the young guys. It's interesting that without JaMychal Green and without Paul Millsap, Najee plays 30 minutes and Bol Bol plays 12. Bol 2 from the field in 12 minutes. And, apparently he's just not high on the list of getting minutes at this time. And, he looks like he'd be impossible to guard, but maybe I don't know, who knows what's happening in practice and why he's, maybe rotationally on defense he doesn't get it. I don't know, but I'd like to see Bol, especially when you don't have Millsap and Green, get a few more minutes there. Nothing against Najee. Najee's shown that he can hit the three, which is something I wasn't expecting to have in his repertoire this year, at least. And like him quite a bit moving forward. He kind of reminds me of like if he plays with a little more energy, like a Kenneth Faried that can shoot, would be like the ultimate goal that I would love to see Najee become. If you're a Nuggets fan and you remember Faried was a monster, an animal on the boards, this and that, really good,
high energy,
but never developed his jump shot. Najee's already a way better shooter. He just needs to know that he needs to come in and have that high energy, be that guy that's just running all around all over the place and making a difference in that regard. And he'll continue to get minutes because he's already got a jumper that plays in the NBA, especially he's a stretch four already. So if he can have that energy and figure it out, he'll be a good piece moving forward. And you talked about RJ Hampton. RJ Hampton just needs to like get in the weight room this offseason. He just doesn't look like he like fits out there. And he's only, he was a year out of high school drafted, and he's still young and incredibly quick, insanely quick. The fastest guy on the Nuggets by far. So
athletic.
I'm excited about that part of him.
Athletic. That dunk the other day. I don't know if you saw that dunk where he just came out of nowhere and just like launched from the from that little semicircle and just dunked on some dude. And he's got some potential to be a really high caliber player. His ceiling, he's very raw. Smaller guy, but he can really go crazy. And Campazzo is another one that has been getting some minutes. He had 27 minutes tonight, 4 for 7, all 3-point shots. He only shot 3-pointers.
Just didn't. That's my ultimate stat line if I'm playing. I'm like, why would I ever take anything inside the 3-point line?
It's like those.
I would be 4 of 7. I'd be 2 of like 21 from 3, and I'd be like, make it rain.
I don't know if any of our viewers go and play at the rec center or like you run down to like your local gym or something, and you guys got you're running games back and forth, and you get that one guy in your team that shoots only threes. Like every time he touches the ball, he shoots a 3. That was Campazzo tonight. Facu is just, he's a small little, Argentinian point guard that's just launching up threes. That he doesn't do this every game, but it was just kind of funny that all of his shots came from behind the arc. But he hit 4 of them. So, I mean, 4 of 7, that's a pretty good, run for 3-point shots for this game. And then he ended up having 16 points. So 4 for 4 from the free throw line. I think he could be a lot of fun, too.
He hasn't quite had the assist numbers that I would have expected because he has these like flashy passes.
100%.
I think the problem is he's not athletic enough to beat a lot of guys off the dribble.
Yep.
And that's where you can get a lot of assists. Once you beat your guy and they collapse on you, then you kick it. And he can't really have that. So his vision's really good. He just they don't collapse on him, or they're not threatened by him enough for him to distribute it. Like maybe ultimately, if he continues to prove he can make shots, maybe then he'll be the distributor that we thought he would be.
Yeah, and that was the first thing that I was looking for. I was thinking he was going to be more of like a Jokic style passer, which he is, and just start racking up assists, and that hasn't exactly happened up to this point. He only had 2 assists tonight, so in 27 minutes. So given his passing abilities and how insane he can be, it's kind of surprising that he's not putting up those assists more frequently when he's in there on the court. So something to look out for. But overall, I mean, I think even though in a loss, it's kind of hard to say this was like a good loss. Like, it's hard to say that any loss is a good loss, but there are things that come out of losses that I think are positive, and definitely Jamal Murray continuing back-to-back games, having some big moments and big stat lines. I'll take that in a loss because that means he's being aggressive. That means he's taking shots, and that means he's doing some of the things that he needs to do to help take some of the pressure off Jokic. I mean, Jokic has been just, I feel like, he's been that guy that his back is just, I'm surprised he doesn't have any back injuries from how long he's carried this team through the course of this season so far. And let us know your thoughts in either the Facebook chat or the Twitch chat on your thoughts of how the Nuggets are right now and what you think they can do. Going into the middle part of the season down the stretch, because right now it seems like they're starting to turn things around. So, but yes, so there's the Nuggets for you. Lot to look forward to this week. Avalanche also had a lot going on over the course of this past week as well. So Avalanche, if you haven't been keeping up with them, started out, they had a 3-game set with the Golden Knights, which the Golden Knights are one of the favorites alongside the Avalanche to win the whole Stanley Cup. They're in the same division, and they are just going to be battling for the course of the season. And they've been fun games to watch. So far, this past week, Avs lost their first game on Valentine's Day, so they lost 1-0. Then they ended up getting 2 3-2 wins, one on Tuesday and one on Saturday, which the Saturday game was that outdoor game in Lake Tahoe, which I don't know if you guys in either of anyone who's watching, all of our viewers now, watched that game. It was so there was a couple things. One, it was like delayed by a ton after the first period because of like ice, because the ice was melting and the sunshine was affecting it, and it was kind of an issue. But that was one of the most gorgeous hockey game settings I've ever seen in my entire life. It was absolutely stunning. The trees, the mountains in the background, snow covered. The lake was right there. It was absolutely incredible. If you didn't see it, go back and look at some of those pictures, because I'm not going to lie. If I was like a hockey player, those are the kind of settings that you would dream of playing in. Those are like what you like your pinnacle of heaven on a hockey rink would look like. And so it was really fun to watch. But Scotty, yeah, they ended up going 8 hours in between play. And they ended up starting up at 10 o'clock p.m. when they started the game in the afternoon that same yesterday. And it finally concluded. Longest game in Avalanche history.
For sure. Yeah. I'm a little, listen, Lake Tahoe, beautiful setting, absolutely gorgeous place. If you've never been there, you got to go. It doesn't even matter what time of year you go, because it's beautiful regardless. And this was a sweet setting for a game. It looked awesome. They must have rolled the dice, because me being the weather guy that I am, once this got delayed, I had to look up. I'm like, all right, it literally got delayed, and the weather was like in the 30s or maybe 40s. Now I'm drawing a blank. I looked at this yesterday. When basically it got delayed for 8 hours because of the amount of sunlight that was hitting the rink and melting the ice. So I looked up and I'm like, in February, what's the weather like in Lake Tahoe? One, it was colder than it was in the 30s, because normally it's low 40s is the average temperature. This was in mid 30s. And basically it's like a 50-50 proposition if the sun's going to be out or not in Lake Tahoe in February. So I'm a little confused at why they would gamble that much on this. Maybe it was just because they knew this setting was so awesome. I'm also confused on why this ice melted so quickly. I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, they played at Coors Field. The Avs had an outdoor stadium game at Coors Field, in which the weather in February, when the game started, it was 65 degrees. So it was 30 degrees warmer, and they played that game without a hitch, and that's an outdoor stadium. And it's not 65 degrees in Colorado in February without sunlight out, right? So I'm wondering why the ice was melting so quickly and what happened there. Maybe it was just an ice issue, because ultimately, like, at that temperature with that amount of sun, like, the conditions should have been fine. Anyway, gorgeous setting. Sucks that they only played a period and then had to delay it for 8 hours. It's not often that your first and second goal can be separated in a game by 9 hours, but that's what the Avs did. So that's pretty cool. And they beat. The good news is, first of all, those jerseys are the best jerseys in the NHL when they wear those.
100%.
Throwback to the Quebec Nordique logo. Those are so sick. New this year, and they look great. And then they've won 2 straight against the Golden Knights. I think most people in the NHL would rank, those 2 teams, the Avs and the Golden Knights, as 2 of the top, certainly 5 teams in the NHL. I want to say they're the top 2 teams in the Western Conference, but the Western Conference doesn't exist this year in the NHL. There's just 4 separate divisions, and they play it out. So they got one more tomorrow against Vegas. They play them 4 straight times after the Avs had like a COVID situation where they were off for 4. They had 4 straight games postponed, so they've only played 14 games at this point, which I think, and let me verify real quick, is tied for the nope. There's one team that's played 13 and one team that's played 12. So I'm a liar. But it's crazy in the NHL. The NHL's been hit by COVID pretty hard. So like the Avs have played 14. There's a team that's played 12 and 13. And there's some teams that have played 20 or 21 games. Like, so the discrepancy there is pretty crazy. They still think they're going to get all the games in, and I hope they do with their shortened season as it is. The Avs are coming on. They outplayed them. They outshot Vegas by 10 last night. Like, Vegas had lost 2 games prior to these last 2 games where they lost both to the Avs. So great job of the Avs to get those 2 W's against Vegas. Hopefully once they start playing these lesser teams, they'll take care of them, because they've been a little inconsistent against the teams they should dominate. But they're 9-4-1, and the Avs are, they were the preseason favorite to hoist Lord Stanley's Cup, and there's not a lot that's going to change with that. Like, they're going to be in the hunt. Obviously hockey, a lot of that is like when you're in the playoffs, like, is your goaltender hot? Like, and the Avs made it like to Game 7 in the Western Conference semifinals with like a 4th string goaltender last year, because all their guys got hurt. So the Avs are loaded. They are the most talented team in the NHL, and they have some new pieces that are still getting acquainted. But I'm not worried. Like, they've played 14 games and have a plus 15 goal differential, which is third highest. I'm sorry, fourth highest in the NHL. But on a per game basis, it's the best in the NHL. So I'm not worried. They're doing fine. The Avs are going to be right in it. They're the best team in Colorado. I don't think there's any doubt about that. As far as, to their sport, they have the best potential of any of those teams to win it all, for sure. They're the only team I could see winning it all. Denver Nuggets could surprise and shock, and that would be absolutely shocking. The other 2,
it's a little tougher.
Don't have a chance at this juncture. So let's all hope the Avs can carry us.
Yeah,
and get us another their 3rd Stanley Cup since they moved here in '96.
And you mentioned this. Those jerseys that they had on were absolutely stunning. We were watching this. This was one of those. We were over at your house watching some of this game in the first period before it got delayed, and I was looking at those jerseys, and I'm not a big hockey jersey guy. Like, I've been wanting a McKinnon jersey, but I've never really had like the urge to just go out and just get one, just because, like, it's fine. But, haven't really had that like push. This jersey, I scoured the internet for an hour and a half trying to find out where I could find that jersey, and I couldn't find it anywhere. It was absolutely like the hardest thing to find, and it was just like, I think you had to get these like pre-ordered. It's kind of like those Nuggets uniforms, like where they have like the skylines, and you could only get them for a certain amount of time. But as far as that goes, oh man, if anyone in chat knows where to find those jerseys, let me know. Throw it in the chat, because I need to get my hands on one of those Nathan McKinnon outdoor Lake Tahoe jerseys. They're fantastic. By the way, as far as jerseys go, that might be one of the sweetest jerseys. Like, I think hockey jerseys tend to be some of the favorite jerseys in sports, because obviously you have a little bit more to work with, right? Baseball uniforms don't really have much logo style on the uniform itself. NBA don't really have. They have like different styles, so like you can mix. Like, NBA's done a better job at that, but there's not like a big, like, not a lot of teams have logos. They have like the text across the jersey, or they have like a emblem of like NHL jerseys have the logo just huge, and it's so great. One of my favorite jerseys is the the Blackhawks, the white Blackhawks jersey. That one, it's just the colors in it. And let me know your guys' favorite jerseys out there in sports. Like, if you guys are in chat, like, do you guys like the hockey jerseys? Do you like, I mean, what jerseys stand out to you as the best in any sport? Because I think, hands down, hockey has the best jersey. Even the Golden Knights jerseys were fantastic. I mean, they kind of had a little bit of a they didn't have like this like star kind of thing going on, and the colors in that were fantastic. I mean, yeah, they were great. So I got to get my hands on those. But yeah, as far as that goes, I digress, Scotty.
Eventually, we should do like
a jersey tier list
through the sports and do like either a tier or a bracket jersey tier list or a bracket each sport and
oh yeah,
just compare jerseys. So
jerseys,
but like have more creative, like their wearing their third uniform. Usually it's just like the color rush or whatever, but they could get a little more creative with that. They don't need to because the NFL does everything else right, but it'd be fun, I think, and help jersey sales. I would imagine.
Absolutely. And then even I know even like the minor league teams. I have a couple minor league random like hats from the Albuquerque Isotopes that I think I have up here in this bookshelf. If you can see in the back here, I got the green chili cheeseburgers hat up there, just chilling. So repping all of those New Mexico Albuquerque Isotopes for those different promotions that they have. But we could do, yeah, I mean, the mascots and the logos for minor league teams even, Scotty, are insane. So we'll have to put something together for all of our viewers to have some fun with that for sure. Steph in the Facebook chat, I'm biased. I love traditional baseball uniforms, pinstripes forever. Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, yeah. I mean, you like those classic, Rockies. I mean, even the Yankees, those legendary pinstripes. You have to throw those Yankees pinstripes out there if you're talking the old school ones, right?
I mean, baseball, if you're a historical team, you got to ride like that history, like the Yankees. I mean, the Dodgers don't have pinstripes, but those uniforms are iconic. The teams that are younger and whatnot can play around a little more. The Rockies haven't done a ton of uniform playing around, but teams like in their division, like the Diamondbacks, the Padres, like switched up their colors completely and then went back last year to their traditional like brown and yellow, which doesn't sound like a good color combo, but I was happy they did it. So I'd like the Rockies to maybe get a little more creative with it, but those iconic teams like the Yankees, the Dodgers, even if it's not pinstripe, like, yeah, no. If you're an iconic team, I'd say the same in the NFL or even the NBA, like, you have to at least still rock that traditional uniform that you've been wearing forever and play around from time to time if you can. But obviously the NFL only has 16, maybe 17 games next year. So it's harder to like throw out like a third uniform when you're only playing that amount of games versus, baseball 162 or these other sports traditionally 82 games. So
yeah, no, 100%. So yeah, I'm going to continue my search for those Colorado Avalanche jerseys, and Nathan MacKinnon in particular. Obviously, he's number 29. I was born on the 29th of October, so it just fits. Like the number, everything. I just need to have it. So Cup coming though. The Avalanche, they have their last game with the Golden Knights here coming up on Monday. So they're going to be so Avalanche are 9-4-1. Knights are 10-4-1. So at this point, we can kind of, get even when it comes to our record on trying to get, towards the top and stay at the top of that division with the Golden Knights. So that's going to be a big game tomorrow. Then you go Minnesota, which Minnesota hasn't exactly been they kind of been up and down, not anything too crazy going on there. And then we start a little series with the Arizona Coyotes. So Avalanche have a lot to come ahead of them here. Again, the biggest challenge will be tomorrow night. And then I have a really good chance that they should do similar to what we think the Nuggets should do, and that's win all these games this week. They have a potential to win all four. So far, they've taken 2 of 3 this past week from the Golden Knights, so hopefully we could just continue to cap that off a little bit further. So,
I'd accept a 3-1 week there. 3-1 would be.
so that's what we got to look forward to here as far as the Nuggets and the Avs are concerned. So again, middle of the season, there's a lot going on with those two teams. So we will keep you posted on all the updates there. But we have a couple storylines going on in the other two sides of the Colorado sports spectrum. We have the Colorado Rockies had some news today. Your Rockies, and it concerns Ian Desmond, who decided to take the second. So as of right, opt out for the second straight season. And I'm assuming this came across the headlines here a few hours ago. I'm assuming it has COVID-related ties to why he's not going to be playing this season. But how big of an impact is that for the Rockies for Ian Desmond to be sitting out another season?
I think Ian Desmond, for the most part, at this point, is like a locker room guy, and he's apparently a phenomenal leader in the locker room. How much that means to a team, who knows? Especially a team like the Rockies, who, obviously just lost Nolan. It's going to be an uphill climb to try and figure out how competitive they can be. He opted out. You know, he had a $15 million deal that he opted out of last year, which prorated was about 5+ million. This year he had 8 million on the books. He's for now. The only weird thing about it was like he basically, what did he say? Let me look right. He's like, I'm opting out for now. He's like, for now, I've decided to opt out of the 2021 season.
What does that
That's the
mean?
only part of it to me that's super weird. Like, you're either in or you're out. Like, I wouldn't like it as a player if like a guy decided to like opt out for the first half of the year, because last year I feel it was COVID related. I'm not so confident it was now. He's basically talking about like he basically in it the quote is, my desire to be with my family is greater than my desire to go back and play baseball. And that's fine. That's great. If that's what he wants to do, more power to him. He should absolutely do that. Be with his family, be a great father. It sounds like he probably is a great father. He's a great guy. Um, but I just don't love the idea of like, I wouldn't love as a player, like, I'm committed to this whole season. You weren't. Now you're going to come back like halfway through the year. So I would prefer him to just say, like, I'm opting out for 2021. I'm not going to play this year. Um,
Leave it at that.
and leave it at that. Like, obviously he got this huge contract from the Rockies. I believe this was, unless him opting out pushes the deal down the road, which I don't believe it does. This was his final year of that deal, so he may not play baseball again, because I don't know, after sitting out for 2 years and the stats he was putting up the Rockies, which weren't on the field great, in his few years with the Rockies, that he may never play baseball again. From the Rockies' vantage point, they haven't signed a free agent. They're the only team in the Major League Baseball that hasn't signed a free agent to a major league contract, paying him this next year. So this saves them some money. So maybe they'll go out and find, because there's guys out there that you could sign. Um, but with this COVID uncertainty, maybe they'll just look at this and try and see what happens with the season. It's an uphill climb. Like I said, it's going to be hard when you have the Padres and the Dodgers in your division, two of the, what most people probably feel, top five teams in all of baseball, including the defending World Series champions and the Dodgers. That's a tough uphill climb for the Rockies. With when you look at their roster right now, I think their starting pitchers are pretty strong. I think that's the strength of their team moving forward this year. The lineup has a lot of guys that are going to have to contribute in ways they haven't before. Um, and it's going to be, we'll see what happens. Their bullpen has maybe a couple pieces, but there's a lot of guys that are going to have to step up, especially based off of what they did last year. They have like a couple pieces. Hopefully, Scott Oberg, who was out last year and has had some health issues that are like not related to injury issues, like scary health issues, blood clots and things like that. He's had a couple of them. Hopefully, he's good to go and he's back this year, because he's probably their best bullpen arm, along with Bard, who was comeback player of the year last year as bullpen pitcher for him. But from Desmond, if like I said, if he wants to be with his family and that's where he needs to be, by all means do it. I just don't love him saying for now part. That doesn't make sense to me. You're either in or you're out.
Yeah, I think
This is the season. What other job could you be like, hey,
I
I
don't.
know I'm signed on for this whole year, but right now I don't want to come back, but maybe in 6 months I'll come back. I just don't like it.
It sounds
I don't
like a
like it.
guy who doesn't have his heart fully into the game, and he's just kind of just one foot out the door. Like, all right, I've had a good career. Maybe I'm not. Maybe baseball is just not my focus as much anymore. In the Facebook chat, Debbie Acola, will the Rockies ever be competitive, and when do you see that happening? How close are we with the Rockies? How many pieces are we away from them to turn things around? I mean, obviously our pitching is kind of in the middle of the road. It's better than average, I would say, than we typically are used to having. What else do we need?
What I will say is when it comes to baseball's the least predictive of all these four sports, I believe, that we have right here in our hometown. As far as like from season to next, a player can clearly drastically change their ability for the better or the worse. But how far are they away right now? Impartially, they are ranked not highly with their Major League Baseball roster, and they're not ranked well with their farm system. Their farm system is generally ranked in the bottom 5 to 6 in all of baseball, and their Major League roster is also ranked in that area. So things can change, and guys can, like I said, in baseball, a lot can happen. But right now, when you look at it, there's not a lot to hold your hat on being like they're going to compete right away, and there's no doubt about it. They gotta develop players. They gotta figure out. I think this COVID is affecting a lot as far as their payroll and stuff like that. So hopefully we can get attendance back and get back to normal, and that'll help because they don't have a ton of money on the books outside of like Charlie Blackmon, who's on the books for a while. But Trevor Story he's in the last year of his basically arbitration. So Trevor Story either has to want to be a Rocky after this year, or if he doesn't want to be a Rocky, and he's clearly, by the way, their best player right now. It's not even close at this point. If he doesn't, then they're going to have to trade him and try and get something for him because it'd be hard, especially in a year like this year where maybe it's going to be hard for them to compete, to just have Trevor Story in the roster and then have him leave next year and get nothing for him, one draft pick when they in arbitration. So
Yeah.
it's going to be tough. It's going to be a long road, but in baseball, there's a lot of teams that have been rewarded by tanking and being bad for 4 or 5 seasons. But when you accrue all that talent in your minor league system and they all come up at the same time and they're all great at the same time, and you're not having to pay those guys a lot of money because they're in the beginning part of their career, that's how teams have proven, especially teams that aren't large market teams like the Dodgers, Yankees, Red Sox, other teams besides them. That's how you win World Series, is you accrue talent that all come in and flood in at the same time based off having high draft picks and just accruing elite talent that comes up through your farm system. And that's probably what they're going to have to do.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I just haven't
It's
really.
probably going to be a long road.
Yeah, I haven't really had a ton of like that's the thing with baseball. Farm systems can take a long time, and that's like patience wise. Like it's not like the NBA or the NFL where you can guys have. I mean, unless you're like a top like 10 player drafted and you have that like immediate impact, a lot of these guys end up getting stashed off in like single, double, triple A league, and they end up just like slowly developing. And it's kind of that's the one thing about baseball that I just don't have the same patience for, especially when like you want to have teams that are like competitive now, and it's like it's hard for me sometimes to have that patience. Like Nuggets draft a guy in the top 7, and he could make an immediate impact. And you see that on the court because there's only 13 guys, right, on like a roster for the NBA. So it's a lot different of a transition. So yeah, it's just we'll see what the Rockies do here. I mean, we're gonna typically we'd be getting ready for spring training here coming up. That's going to look a little different, but I think we're going to start having some more Rockies talk as we move forward once we get closer and closer to that MLB season kicking off. And then finally, let's touch on the Broncos here. The Broncos, earlier Stephanie was asking in our Facebook chat, what's going on with the Deshaun Watson, and as far as that goes, it's interesting because now there are some casinos out in Vegas that are saying that the Broncos are at least early and middle of the week saying that the Broncos were potentially favorites to trade for a Deshaun Watson, and he would potentially land here, which would be pretty interesting for us. We've talked about this on our previous shows. I still don't think that's going to be something that I anticipate happening. I would love it to happen. I think, and we Panthers have a lot to give, and they're clearing space. I think the Carolina Panthers ended up dropping like 3 guys this past week, and they're just dumping salaries to try to make it available for them to make some run at some big name players. So honestly, I think that's going to be a big spot, and their owner is outspoken in making big splashes, and he is actually he's actually said that they're going to really try to make a run if he becomes available at Deshaun Watson as well. So I think no matter what, I've been kind of looking at this throughout the week, Scott, and I've been just trying to figure out how it will be when it comes to Deshaun Watson either staying in Houston or being potentially traded. And the more and more the time goes by, the more and more I think it's going to be so hard for them to keep turning down offers for Deshaun Watson, especially just to move on. I know they have all the leverage. I get that. But to be able to get a haul and just get moving on starting, fresh earlier rather than, just drawing this out and having the headache and dealing with all the publicity if he doesn't play and what the team looks like, I think he gets traded. I'm feeling more and more that, and it might not be to the Broncos necessarily, but I think he gets traded at some point this offseason. And I hope the Denver Broncos are in the mix. I don't know how much it's going to take a lot to give up for him. And there's going to be some teams that are going to overpay like crazy. So that's just kind of my take on Deshaun Watson. I think there's some, based off of our new GM, I think he's going to be in the mix, and that's exciting. Just in general, even if we don't get him, it's exciting that he's willing to take some of those risks and jump in at some of these big name players. So, yeah, who knows?
Part of me is like, this GM, if Deshaun Watson was available and this new GM was like, no, we're good with Drew Lock, he would already be the most hated guy in the city of Denver. Like,
Yeah,
you
true.
can't
Very
sit
true.
on Drew Lock and be like, oh, Deshaun Watson's available, we're not going to go after him. Of course they're going to go after him. But I'll rest on John McClain, who has been a Texans beat writer since they've been a franchise. Basically went on KOA radio this week and said, I'll guarantee you the Broncos ain't getting Deshaun Watson. That's his direct quote. He's connected with that Texans organization. Listen, and this is nothing about me as a Chiefs fan. Like, I just don't think that, one, they right now they're not even. He's not even on the market. He's not on the market right now because the Texans don't want to trade him right now. Can that change? Can things happen? Absolutely. Worst case scenario, he sits out. I don't think Deshaun Watson would sit out the whole year. I think he would wait and then get a year. You can sit out a certain amount of games and then come back and still have a season accrued towards your free agency. Although he's still got 4 more years, so it doesn't really matter. He could be tied for the Texans for a long time. But ultimately, I just don't think the Broncos are going to have the ammunition. Like you talked about Carolina, and I think Carolina, you're right. Like, so within the last couple of days, Teddy Bridgewater has unfollowed a lot of Carolina accounts on social media. I read.
Yep.
Oh boy, I don't know what that means. Everyone reads into that shit way too much, but at the same time, it is something. And he's heard the rumors out there, like Carolina had probably, debatably, the best offer to get Matt Stafford, and
Yep. Absolutely.
they didn't get him, but they were all in on Stafford, way more than the Broncos were in on Stafford. A question I would have for Broncos fans, maybe in the chats or whatever, is like, you saw Carson Wentz get moved for a third round pick and a conditional second round pick.
Correct.
Should the Broncos, if the Broncos would have gave that same exact offer, would you have wanted them to do that to get Carson Wentz in Denver, or are you like, no, like go big or go home? Like, I don't know. I could see both arguments, honestly, as a Chiefs fan. I think Carson Wentz ultimately has more upside than Drew Lock, certainly. But he's had seasons. Obviously, last year he was a disaster, not good at all. Everyone's praising, like, Dan Orlovsky on ESPN, who I like a lot and I trust a lot, is just like, he's always been a Carson Wentz defender, and then this year it blew up in his face, and he admitted it blew up in his face. But now that he got traded to the Colts, he's like, Carson Wentz will be a top 5 MVP candidate next year, and I'm like, whoa, pump the brakes a little bit. Like, Carson Wentz was really not good last year. He had no pocket presence. He threw too many picks, and he got sacked way too often. I don't care who was around him. He didn't play well. But he's shown he can play well at times. So, as you, at least, and hopefully someone in the chat can chime in that's a Bronco fan, like, if you could give up a third and a next year's second to bring in Carson Wentz, would you have wanted to do that?
I would say it just for me, my standpoint, I would say no. I don't necessarily love how he handled the end of his situation in Philadelphia. He kind of came across as a little bit of a I don't get what I want, so I'm going to throw a temper tantrum and I'm going to just not play, or I'm not going to. I didn't love the attitude. He didn't take it from a professional standpoint that I would have liked from a quarterback, and I just don't think that was just the eyeball test. It didn't look right for me. And then also, we haven't been proven to have a consistent offensive line. I know he got sacked, I think, a ton of times. I think I don't know what those numbers were. I said like ton of sacks. 50?
He this year, I mean, he led the league.
I think it was like
getting sacked.
50 sacks or something.
But ironically, the pressure rate with Philadelphia and Indianapolis, where he got traded this year, where everyone's like, oh, Indy has a better offensive line, and I agree with that, but was like almost virtually the same this year. So it'll be really interesting next year to see what version of Wentz Indianapolis gets. Because it could be really great for him, and it could blow up in their face.
Because Indy only allowed what? I think I saw something that Indy only allowed 10 sacks to a quarterback that is immobile, pretty much.
Yeah, but he gets the ball out way quicker.
He does. But still the fact that, a guy that can't really move, like if Carson Wentz can get the ball, I think the coaching staff there will help him to recognize when to get rid of the ball. So hopefully that's a good thing. So I think he'll have a better season. I just don't think he would fit in Denver necessarily. So I would just lean more. Would I hate if he came? No, because I think it's going to push Drew Lock to be a little bit better. I think Drew Lock needs to have somebody here if we're going to move forward with Drew Lock, I have a feeling we're going to give him one more year. I have a weird gut feeling that in the pit of my stomach, we're going to say, let's give him one more chance, and it's going to backfire on us, and I just don't think he's going to develop. But I just...
By the way, real quick, ESPN has team pass block win rate. So it's basically, as a team, as an offensive line, how often does your pass block win the snap in a passing down? And ranked 11th was Philadelphia at 60%, and ranked 12th was Indianapolis, also at 60%. I imagine there's some decimal points, which is why Philly was ranked ahead, but Wentz was sacked way more because he just holds onto the ball way more. According to ESPN and their stats, these offensive lines were equally good at pass blocking last year. So it'll be interesting to see. But
yeah,
I think Indy has a GM that I think is really, really good. And if he believes, and everyone hypes this Frank Reich, who's the head coach of Indianapolis, was with Philadelphia a few years ago and with Carson Wentz, and someone posted the numbers of Carson Wentz with Frank Reich in Philadelphia and post Frank Reich, and they're almost identical. So it's not like he's like the quarterback whisperer for Carson Wentz. He's pretty much the guy he is, but
yeah,
Andy can fix him.
Yep.
I don't know.
Steph in chat. Denver's offense isn't set up for Wentz. We need a mobile quarterback. Yeah, I think we need somebody. I mean, Drew Lock is semi-mobile. He's not he needs to make better decisions with the football when it comes to just being accurate and throwing the ball to his progressions, like going through the progressions each and every time. But I do think that that's the trend of the quarterbacks in the NFL. They're going more towards that. The Deshaun Watsons and some of these mobile guys. I mean, even your boy Lamar Jackson isn't. I know you don't love Lamar Jackson, but he still needs to learn how to throw the ball a little bit more accurate. But I mean, Patrick Mahomes can move without he can scramble. He can still make plays happen with his feet, and that's something that really needs to continue for us to look at. I think there's a couple options in the draft that maybe we should look at. I think Lance in the draft. What's his name? Your boy that you really like.
Zach Wilson. First of all, I don't know. Zach Wilson definitely won't be available if the Denver pick. They'd have to move up.
No, there's who's the other kid that's like in that top 4 of the draft? Trey Lance?
Ohio State boy?
No, Trey
Lance is, you already said.
Yeah, I think
Trey Lance is North Dakota State.
I think North Dakota State.
Zach Wilson's the best off platform guy.
Yeah,
that's Trey Lance. That's still a guy.
Yeah, so I think the Broncos need to go somewhere. I think you need to keep drafting quarterbacks regardless because you just need to have some sense of it's a numbers game. You have to keep drafting quarterbacks until one sticks. You're going to find one eventually. First-round draft picks for any kind of first-round draft pick for quarterbacks are pretty much a crapshoot for the most part. We've talked about that quite a bit. So, the fact that, it's just you're going to randomly take one quarterback that's going to, a number 1 or number 2 overall pick that's going to just pan out guaranteed is not exactly a guarantee. So, yeah, it's just something the Broncos need to take a look at. We've done a lot of drafting of quarterbacks that haven't panned out. Paxton Lynch and some of these other guys that are just not getting to the point where we need them to be. And maybe free agency is the way to go. Maybe it's making a run at some of these big-time quarterbacks, making a splash in the trade market to get somebody big in and trying to get some help. Because right now, I don't think there's a lot of people in Denver that really feel great about the quarterback situation that we have, even with Drew Lock in place. He has some promise, but he's not exactly a guy that you can trust from game to game. So that's just where we're at with some of these quarterback situations for Denver. But, let us know what you guys think the Broncos should do. Should the Broncos trade for a quarterback? Should they draft one? Should they do a little bit of both? Should they? What do you think whether you're in the Facebook chat or whether you're in that's going to be the best move for the Broncos moving forward on trying to get somebody that's going to be competitive for this
By the
franchise.
way,
Go ahead.
over Deshaun Watson overall, I still think if Deshaun Watson gets moved, I don't know why Miami wouldn't make the most sense. And Miami has the most to offer. They have 2 first-round picks, including number 3 overall this year, and they could throw Tua in there, who was the number 5 overall pick last year. So to me, if they decide, all right, we'll move him, we give up, he doesn't want to be here, we've lost. Like, I don't know. I just think Miami makes a lot of sense, and I think Deshaun would be more than happy to go to Miami. It was also interesting this week. Chris Harris came out and was like, because you're right, the Vegas odds went to Denver being the favorites this week, which to me was surprising. To a lot of people, I think was surprising. And I'm like, what do they know? But Chris Harris, former, obviously, Bronco quarterback for a long time, now with the Chargers, was like, you got to be joking. Like, basically, you got to be kidding me. He's not coming to the AFC West. He's not wanting to compete with Mahomes and now Justin Herbert with the Chargers. So, which makes sense. Like,
100%.
if he's trying to go to a team to win a Super Bowl, you don't probably want to go to the division with. And let's pump the brakes a little bit on Herbert. I don't think Herbert's holding him back. I think it's Mahomes. Like, you want to go to the division you know you can win. Like, Brady was in that division was just garbage, so he was guaranteed, usually 6 wins a year against those 3 teams, and then would win the division and usually have a first round bye, and that's huge in the playoffs when you get a first round bye and home field advantage and all that. That's huge.
Yep.
And I don't think Deshaun would want to go to a place where, like, even if he joined Denver, like, all right, Chiefs went 14-2 last year, so he's gonna have to go somewhere, 12 plus wins, and there's better options out there.
Yeah. Deborah in chat.
And Chris Harris's opinion.
True. I mean, it's not. I mean, there is a lot of competitive teams in this division that he would have to battle. I mean, it's whether or not he would want to jump in and say, "Hey, I want to compete against the best and challenge myself," or go to an easy division within the AFC where he has a chance to really do some big things. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting where he ends up landing. Deborah in chat, agree on the quarterback talk. Why would we get rid of a mediocre quarterback for another one? Steph in chat, Locke has some potential. Also, my husband says Philip Lindsay needs more carries, which I believe he does as well. I think he was. He did get some carries taken away from him, and he was on a local radio show this past, I think, a week where he was voicing some of his displeasure with his carries, and I think he needs to be more involved within that running game. So that was an interesting little thing that popped up on the local news stations here, was the fact that is Philip Lindsay kind of getting frustrated with his role in this offense, because I mean he was and still is a very, very effective running back. He's one of our more explosive running backs as far as anything on our roster goes. So yeah, another interesting thing and storyline to take a look at when we're getting into the season.
I remember last offseason when they signed Melvin Gordon to one or whatever the contract was. It was $8 million last year. I don't know if it was more than a year. I think it's more than a year. I think he's still under contract next year. Either way, it made no sense to me. No sense at all. Like, Denver had some holes in the roster. Running back was, granted, Philip Lindsay's a smaller guy. That's his biggest knock, is like he's just not a large individual. So the wear and tear of getting hit constantly can affect him, and he has had injuries. That's his biggest flaw. Otherwise, he's prolific. He's solid. Clearly now, like, he's kind of annoyed at what's happened here. He doesn't feel like he's really been rewarded by Denver to the point where he wants to maybe stick around for the long term. We'll see. Obviously, he went to CU. He's a local boy. Went to high school in Colorado. He's from Colorado. Great story in that sense. So I think Denver should want to keep him around. And Melvin Gordon, I just never understood the Melvin Gordon sighting. And now Melvin Gordon, I believe, is going to be suspended for a few games
For that
next year
DUI.
due to a DUI he got at the
Yep.
yeah. So I don't know. I agree. I think I think Philip Lindsay has some playmaking ability. What I think he should spin his whole offense is just or off season. I'm sorry, is in a jug machine catching footballs because he should be a way better pass catching
Yep.
back than he is. Like he has the ability to get open. His hands aren't great. So if he can improve his ability to catch a football, I think that would help him and the Broncos exponentially. And he would get signed long term. But until he proves he can consistently catch a football, to me that's his biggest flaw, along with his slight frame and getting injured. But ultimately, I mean, he's a tough guy to bring down, and he's a he's way obviously an undrafted free agent, rookie free agent when he signed with them. So he's overachieved and he's got a lot of heart. And I don't know. I think he should be. Him and Melvin Gordon are like comparable to me. So that's why it just doesn't make sense to go sign Melvin Gordon for $8 million, where you could use that money towards a position where you're clearly upgrading. And I'm not sure they did by bringing in Melvin Gordon.
Yeah. And then not to mention, we still have questions with what's going to happen with Von Miller. He's had a kind of a crazy, not so great offseason. So, he didn't play all last year based off of an injury that he sustained literally on the last day of practice before the season started, and missed the whole season. But most recently having some litigation issues and some issues with his ex-wife, girlfriend, whoever I think it was just a girlfriend, but I don't know how that's going to play in. I think, his deal is coming up where we got to make a decision whether or not we want to bring him back. And I think that's going to be an interesting choice for the Broncos because we're going to need to get him at a cheaper price if he does come back. There's no way we're going to pay him what we're supposed to be paying him for this next season. He's just such a big hit to our cap, and he's getting older. He's not exactly that explosive guy, and maybe is coming off these injuries. We don't know what he's going to look like. We have to make a decision on him by, I think it's like the first or second week of March to figure out whether or not he's going to be somebody that we're going to want to take an option on, because then we have a roster bonus that kicks in or something along those lines where he's going to be owed a lot of money. So that's going to be another piece. I have seen reports both ways. Most of them are saying that we probably should be moving on from Von Miller and kind of going a different direction with how we want to grow this team, from that standpoint. But if he comes back and he says, hey, maybe I'll take a lot less money to come back and play for Denver. He's said that he wants to stay in Denver and he wants to retire a Bronco. They all say that, right? They all say they want to stay with their team, and then it's a business, right? Everyone ends up getting moved, and they're like, oh, well, all right, I want to retire as a Dolphin or a 49er. So either way, that's another big choice the Broncos will have to be making here in the next couple weeks. So we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah, I think it's March 17th, and I think it's around a $7 million roster bonus. He's scheduled to make, I believe, around close to 20 million. Maybe it's 18. I can't remember.
I think
exactly.
It's 18. Yeah.
Yeah, 18 sounds right. And they're not going to bring him back at 18. I think the Broncos want him back, and they will say, "Hey, we can't bring you back at 18, but we will bring you back at this, and we'll extend you for a couple of years." But if anyone heard the interview that Vaughn had on 104.3 The Fan out here, where he was asked about taking a pay cut last season going into this year after he was already hurt, and it was the most awkward interview ever. He basically was like
it was
not wanting to answer questions after that. He was furious. So I think most people are like, the Broncos are going to try and keep him, but ultimately Vaughn won't want to stay taking a pay cut here, and he would even take the same amount of money somewhere else because it's a pride issue at that point. Like, and also he wants to probably compete for a Super Bowl. And I think if Vegas was setting odds right now or where Vaughn was most likely to play next year, I think the logo would look a lot like the one on my sweatshirt right now.
You would take a Von Miller on your team in a heartbeat?
Oh, outside, like the Chiefs have already said they want to address the outside rushing position outside the opposite of Frank Clark, and they need to. They have Chris Jones in the middle. Frank Clark has been up and down a little bit, but in the playoffs played well. But someone on the other side, they haven't had anyone on the other side at all. And a Von Miller on the other side, and Von Mahomes has played against him. Von Miller's raved about Mahomes. Like Von Miller loves Mahomes about as much as I do. Um, so I think the familiarity there and the knowledge that he could win there, I think that would make a lot of sense on like a 1 year deal this year. That's just me.
But we also got to figure out what's going on with this issue with he's got a lot of he's issues with the law at the moment, which
I've heard they expect that.
it gets a little messy.
I've heard that the team expects that, and I don't even know what the situation is, but the team expects that to be dropped without charges, and I don't even know what the charge could be. So that's weird in itself.
Yeah.
But from what I've heard from different insiders within the Broncos, that the Broncos don't expect charges, and they expect it to be dropped and him be cleared off of whatever it is. I don't even know what it is that they're investigating. But you're right. There is an investigation out there regarding a female friend. No one knows more than that, I believe.
There's some text messages out there that are kind of messy, that are really like not so great. That doesn't mean there's any criminal like behavior, but I mean, even the text messages. If you guys are watching, you don't know what I'm talking about. I'll let you guys do the research on the internet on your own. It's kind of a little bit kind of sketch, but that's just a character thing that's going to be happening. Obviously, there's a lot of character issues with some of these guys in the NFL, and this is just another one of those things. Steph in chat, Miller is the heart and soul of the defense. Maybe he'll take a pay cut. Yeah, that's the only way he's going to end up staying. So hopefully if he decides to stay, I would take him here on the other side of Bradley Chubb all day, every day, just because he still has. I think he still has at least a couple years left in him, but not for $18 million, not for what. I think you can start shifting in a different direction, and we have other needs to fill too. I think one of the areas we're going to fill in the draft coming up, a lot of people inside various drafting circles and mock drafts had the Broncos taking cornerback to try to help on the back end of our defense, because we have nobody. I couldn't even tell you the names of our corners at the moment, and feel confident about anybody that I even don't know about. It's bad. We don't have anybody back there. So that's a big priority. Quarterback is a big priority. There's a lot of other priorities that are going to take precedence. If Vaughn doesn't want to take a deal, or if he doesn't want to take a special pay cut to stay with us, I think we have to go a different direction.
Yeah, I listen. I think Denver definitely wants him back. And the reports I heard prior to him getting hurt last year in training camp was he looked great. I would argue. I mean, he is 30. I think he's 32. So that's on your last life, certainly at his position at least. But they said he looked great prior to injury in training camp last year. I think he looked better than Chubb in training camp last year from all reports. So if he's still got something left, like I think Denver wants him back, like I said, but I just don't think. I think his pride is really getting in the way, along with the chance to win. Like, I think his pride would be less hurt if he felt like, all right, Denver's going to compete to win another Super Bowl real soon here. But at this point of his career, he probably wants to get back to the postseason. He's had these last 5 years, playing or not, where Denver hasn't made the playoffs, and I'm sure that's built up and frustrated him, because otherwise he's like a Denver guy. You see him all the time. He's at like Nuggets games, As games. He's like hardcore in the community usually.
Absolutely.
When they're out there and there's fans allowed stadiums and whatnot. So he's been a Denver guy through and through since he got drafted. But I just think I'd put it at like maybe like a 15% chance he's back with Denver next year.
I feel like that's
I
I feel like that's fair, and we won't even get in. Maybe we'll get into this a little bit further, but my hot take is that I don't feel like Bradley Chubb has lived up to the expectations on the other side that he's necessarily, given the fact that where he was taken in the draft, and what we should expect for someone like that taking at that point in the draft. He should be doing a lot better than what he's doing. So, especially learning under a Von Miller. I mean, look at what Shaq Barrett learned under Von Miller, and now Shaq Barrett's over in Tampa Bay winning Super Bowls and one of the best pass rushers in the league at this point. Boy from Colorado State, if you don't know, go Rammies. But yeah, I just don't think Bradley Chubb, and we'll maybe get into that as we get closer to the NFL draft, and we're gonna have a huge draft special, so I can't wait for that. That's something we're looking forward to. But
we haven't talked about this. I'm gonna say this right now live. Like we should live stream the draft at least that first night.
Hey, let's do it.
Let's do it.
I think we should. We hope all you guys join us as well.
Most about Bradley Chubb is
the what?
What hurts most about Bradley Chubb is he was taken at 5 overall. The next pick was Bradley Chubb was taken at 5 overall. Pick was the Colts. They took Quentin Nelson, who's now the best guard in all of football.
Ugh.
And the number 7 was Josh Allen. And I know that Denver wasn't overly interested in Josh Allen, but man, those 2 picks right after you hurt a lot. Nothing against Bradley Chubb, but those 2 right after you, either one of those guys would be a way more difference maker for Denver right now than Bradley Chubb is.
Steph in Facebook chat, do it. You need. She wants to see the live stream for the NFL draft. So I think we're gonna do it. I think we should. We're going to be glued to all of our screens for that. We're going to do it we're pick by pick. We're going to just throw it up there. We'll have some fun with it. Let's plan it out. We're going to have that. We have, there's so much coming up. This is a great time of the year, right? So we got, eventually we'll have the NHL, NFL, NHL, NBA playoffs. We'll have, my favorite weekend of the year with the Kentucky Derby and everything else going along with that, big fights. And then also you got the drafts coming up. And then, just the March Madness. We got March Madness kind of around the corner as well. So filling out brackets. I think we need to start filling out brackets, once we get those all ready to go. And let's get everyone's opinions on that too. So much to be, joining in on the lab here. A lot coming down the pipeline. So if you're here and you're not following, we have a lot of people, Scott, that watch that, aren't necessarily followers quite yet. We want those people to jump in and not only participate, but be a follower so you can make sure you're part of all these fun things that are going to be coming down the pipeline here in the next few months, because there's a lot going on. So we are closing in on the end of our show here, but we want to just open it up and just make so if you have anything at any point, this is kind of your chance to just discuss anything that you want that is across the board in the world of sports. So now's your chance. If you have something on your mind and you're just, man, I just want to just like vent about this, or I would want to talk about it, here's your opportunity here. So, NBA, NFL, NHL, baseball, NASCAR, whatever you want to talk about. Just throw it out there. Scotty, what other things this past week caught your attention before we kind of wrap things up?
That's a good question. Ultimately, the big move with Wentz was a big one.
Yep.
We talked about that. Ultimately, otherwise, it'll be interesting to see. So LeBron has been like the front runner in the NBA for MVP for a little bit. Now Anthony Davis sounds like he's going to be out for a while. They've lost every game since he's been out. Not that LeBron hasn't played well in some of those, but I'd be interested to see, like, all right, LeBron, you're the MVP. Go win some motherfucking games. Am I right?
Yeah.
I think that's interesting. Like Anthony Davis is out now. This is your team. Go win some games. Hold up the fort. And that's LeBron James. So if he's the MVP, do it.
Yeah, no, I think that this is his opportunity, right? If they end up going on a run here, he's going to be the front runner for the MVP the rest of the season. It's that's the kind of they can't afford to not have two guys playing, especially with LeBron saying he didn't want to necessarily play as much this season and sit out some games and this and that because of his age and everything. It's part of what it is. Kawhi sat out games when he was with, the San Antonio Spurs and that sort of thing. But it's just part of some of those veterans that are getting a little bit older that just or certain teams' mentalities of how they approach usage that kind of go into it. But he can't afford to miss games with Anthony Davis out because they're going to slip too far in that Western Conference. And they're not going to be in a spot where they need to, have a solid push for a top seed in the West. Especially, you don't want to be, having some of those situations where you're running into the Clippers or, I guess even Utah at this point. I'm coming around on Utah a little bit. You don't want to meet one of those two teams in either the second round or third round or just, earlier than you need to in the Western Conference Finals or playoffs. So that'll be interesting. And then let's see, Steph in chat. Ushman's next opponent?
Not sure on that one.
Steph.
I appreciate Steph. Everything you've done in the chat, I really appreciate it.
I don't know.
Thanks for being involved. I'm just not sure. Maybe that was a typo, or maybe we're just. I'm gonna look up Ushman's next. That might be like a UFC, which we're not like the greatest on. Usman is a UFC guy.
Oh, okay, all right. Is UFC.
Ushman or Usman?
I couldn't tell you. I haven't watched some UFC in quite a bit. I watched, I think, like this a couple pay-per-views ago, a little bit. I still need to get back up to speed on some of my UFC knowledge. I'm not. I won't lie to you guys all in that are watching us in chat right now. I don't have a huge pulse on what's going on in the UFC, but yeah.
Yeah, I could be better at that. But based off of what that was 6 days ago. But Masvidal, which they already fought. They fought last July, but that's what I'm going with right now, according to Google. Without any direct knowledge whatsoever on that. But Usman, I have heard of Usman, but beyond that, I don't know. We would not be your experts on that.
But we can be a little bit more knowledgeable next time around, so that next time you guys jump in, Steph said it's her husband chiming in because he's a big UFC guy. So you know what, we're gonna get in some we'll get some of our UFC knowledge up to speed for the next stream, and we'll make sure that we're giving you some of that juicy matchup for the next time around. So absolutely, we need to add UFC to our little graphic here and make it so that we're not just we're going outside of our box, Scott.
I'm now Googling, like he came up through the Ultimate Fighter series, which I really respect. Like he was the Ultimate Fighter 21 winner, so that's super cool that he came up through like that show in the ranks and like. So now I'm gonna have to check him out more. I promise I'll know more if you ask a question about it again.
She's like, no worries. We had fun with the show. Steph, no, thank you so much. We appreciate all of the chats because, it's all of you guys that are watching that make this show what it is. Like, Scott and I, we're just up here, right? We're not really, the most entertaining folks here. But hey, you guys, what you guys, fill with our various chats, whether that's Facebook. And again, we're going to get this Facebook figured out. So it goes into this our online like interface here when you see the stream progress. It's going to hopefully happen by this Wednesday's show. So that way we can see all of your responses in one place so that you guys aren't hidden on another screen with another chat. So Steph, thank you so much. Deb, thank you so much. Mom, love you. She says Melvin Gordon is overrated. She agrees with you. You got to have love from the mom, right? It's so great. But we want to hear from everybody.
I'm gonna call out my mom. I'm gonna call her after this.
We got to hear from everybody though. So if you're here, again, follow if you haven't. Again, we're gonna wrap things up here in a second. But I mentioned this early on. If you're following on, you can follow us on Twitch. That's easy. You just go in and you'll see a little notification on Twitch and also on Facebook. So if you're here and you click follow on our Facebook page, there's a link in the description where we're going to be streaming from here on out moving forward. We might stream on Scott's for a couple for the next week or so to try to get some of his crew to watch and jump in. But if you're here, just go ahead and follow just like our page on Facebook. Click the link, like it, and then we'll be going live on that event. Also, follow us on all these other platforms, Twitter, Instagram. We have a lot going on, and we're trying to hit a follower goal on Twitch. So if you want to create a Twitch account, it's free. You can do that. Just jump in. It takes probably 5 minutes to go in and create an account and follow the Action Lab. We're trying to get to 50 followers. So we are at 26 right now. We're halfway there, and we just need to get we want to get there in the next 6 days. So by our Wednesday show, if you're here, that would be fantastic as well to create a Twitch account. And you can catch us on either Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, all of it. We're going to be upgrading all of that stuff. So thank you so much for joining us on a Sunday night. I know you could be spending your Sunday night with anybody else in the world, maybe your family, maybe your friends, but you decided to spend it with us, and that makes us feel special. Right, Scott? Scott, you frozen?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
And,
I thought you froze for a
hopefully
second.
Next time, maybe I'll have like something on the wall.
That's
I do that, but I do have a little Patrick Mahomes, one of those pops. I don't know, not like a bobblehead, but similar. It's a brand pop. I got a little Patrick Mahomes. He's ready to go. He's excited to be a new dad.
There you go. See, he's got the pop. I got pops. I got like little video game guys up here. I got if you guys are Overwatch fans, I got my little Lucio right there. He's fantastic. And my little Zenyatta up there. They're video game characters. If you don't know. But then I got all my other sports stuff. But it's all about the background, Scotty. And Scotty's gonna get it going. I forgot to
get it. This is a big one right here.
Well, again, thank you guys so much. We are going to be live. Our next stream is Wednesday. We're going to go live at 7:30 Mountain Time, 9:30 Eastern. For Steph, I don't even know what time zone that is for.
I'm going to assume that's 6:30.
6:30, something like that. I don't know.
Probably Pacific, right? They're right there. Yeah.
I think there's actually, isn't there an Alaska time? I could be I could be the dumbest person right now by asking that question.
We should just stop talking.
Absolutely. So have a great week. We will see all of you guys in the lab on Wednesday. And we have a lot to cover on that show as well. We have our third round. We got our small forwards this week, Scott, to rank those tiers. So small forwards are a fun position to be ranking, so that'll be good.
LeBron might make the top 10.
Not sure. I doubt it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys Wednesday. Thanks for joining us in the lab, and have a fantastic start to your week. Love y'all.